meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for Tuesday, April the 4th. I have two additions to the agenda. If you will add at number 6, letter B, number 6, a salary correction for an Oxford Fire Department employee. You have the memo on your desk. And then at number 6, letter D, number 9, approval of a travel request for a municipal court employee. Again, you have the memo before you on your desk. Ashley, am I missing anything?
We had Shane, I don't know if Shane is here, but
He is.
The SMAC agreement for Pontotoc. I don't know if,
Is it, do we have it?
it's attached.
Oh, okay.
It's up underneath the agenda.
Oh, okay. Let's do that at 7A.
And that
that
is
good?
for assistance with their disaster
Yes.
recovery efforts.
Do it at 9:08 because he's gonna be at.
Do it at 9A.
Yeah.
Bailey's right. He'll be up here at 9. So 7A, Shane. Okay? 9A, Shane. All right, so with those 3 additions, do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So bear with me, we've got a little bit of a longer mayor's report, which I know John Morgan always appreciates. I want to start by saying that our thoughts and prayers are with the different communities that were affected by the tornadoes over the past 2 weeks. We are so blessed as we were right in the line of the storm twice. And it dodged us. So we are so thankful for that. And I am thankful for a staff, for employees who have gone above and beyond to help our neighbors in different counties. We have had 2 deliveries to Amory, Winona, and Rolling Fork. 2 days last week. Crews drove trailers full of water and supplies, and you know, Amory needed garbage cans, and so we are in the process right now of changing to an automated garbage pickup service, and so people are getting rid of their old trash cans. So we were blessed to be able to take about 100 of those to Amory to be used in the cleanup effort. And then last Sunday, 2 days ago Sunday, a crew of Oxford employees with chainsaws and excavators headed to Pontotoc to help them. So we have got a short video that I want the board to see that Shane Fortin, our emergency management director, along with an Ole Miss intern, put together. So if y'all play that, please. It's really quiet. Need some background music. Thank you, Shane, and to all of those volunteers. Ken Knight with the street department, Chad Coleman with the street department, Chad Smith, Jack Sullivan, Eric Tedder, Joe Varner, and Bill Tidwell, and Shalon Spence, all with the street department. At Zeri Ortiz, Scott Hollowell, Lee Williams, Joshua Stockton, and Mackenzie Rogers, all with the police department. So thank you very much, Shane Fortner, for all your hard work. I want to say a huge thank you to Senator Nicole Boyd and Representative Clay DeWeese, Representative Jody Steverson, and Representative Trey Lamar. We have been working hard in Jackson over the past 3 months as our legislature has been meeting, and we have gone often and put together information about funding that we need for our community. For the students in the room, we are a town of 28,000 taxpayers. We have about 60,000 people here every day. We have about 200,000 people here on a Morgan Wallen LSU baseball game weekend. So that's a lot of infrastructure that has to be in place for 28,000 taxpayers to support. We are also the economic driver for the north half of the state, and in order for us to remain in that position, we are going to have help from both our state legislature and from federal funding. So we found out in the wee hours of Saturday morning. They finished the bill at 2 a.m. Saturday morning and adjourned for this session, and we are excited to announce that the city of Oxford received $5 million to go towards the construction of a police department and $15 million to start the widening of Highway 7. So we are super excited, super excited about that. Alderman Bailey, Chief Operating Officer Bart Robinson, and I were in D.C. last week meeting with our congressman and with our 2 senators and discussing with them our needs. We asked for $5 million for a road project to connect University Avenue and Highway 7 to Oxford Commons through Piggy's Road. We asked for $5 million to help us with a WERDA water project to increase our water capacity. Just for the students in the room, we spent about $13 million last year on water and sewer upgrades. Not very sexy projects, but a lot of taxpayer money that it takes to keep our water and sewer projects up to speed. And you can look at communities around the state who aren't spending the money to keep their water and sewer up to speed to realize what a problem it causes when you don't. And we also asked for $2.5 million to help us in the renovation of a historic building in town, and another $500,000 for the police department. So as you can see, I go with my hand out pretty much everywhere I go, and we are really excited at our success in Jackson. While we were in DC, we were also able to meet with our U.S. Department of Transportation representatives, with one of the deputy secretaries from DOT, and talk to them about a grant that we've submitted for Jackson Avenue. And we also met with representatives from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to talk about the $5 million of appropriation that we are requesting through the WERDA Act. So that's probably more than you ever wanted to know, but now you know. I also want to say, is Marley Carpenter here? No? Well, I'm gonna brag on her anyway. Marley Carpenter is our director of Stronger Together, which is our volunteer arm of the city. And I want to congratulate her and Stronger Together on being recognized with a GIVE award. And GIVE stands for Governor's Initiative for Volunteer Excellence Awards. So we're really excited that Stronger Together will be recognized at a luncheon soon with that award. All right, so moving on, ask you to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on March 21st.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
I move we pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the 2 additions I mentioned before.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next on our agenda is a public hearing on the proposed voting ward map of the city of Oxford. I know that Ben Smith is here with us tonight. Is Ben gonna walk us through this process? Come on up. Okay. Hey there.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, we're glad to have you.
I must say, this building has certainly improved in the 24 years I've been gone from here, so.
Well, good. We're giving it all we got, Ben. Some days it's enough and some days it's not.
All right. Let's start, if we could, with the table 2020 census estimated ward populations. Okay. First off, the purpose of redistricting, of course, is to keep the wards relatively equal. And we have 6 wards in Oxford and a current population in 2020, April 1st, 2020, of 25,416. Back in 2010, population was 18,916, and back in 2000 it was 11,756. And the large increase in 2020 was due partially because of the 2018 annexation. I'd also like to point out that overall the percentage of black and other minorities in the city in 2000 was 24.99. In 2010, increased to 27.7, and in 2020 was up to 34.85. And I think a lot of that increase is probably Hispanic. Now, you will see on this table the average ward population that you are looking for is 4,236. The existing wards, and I might mention also that this table says it's estimated, the census information we get, the census blocks, unlike a county, the blocks don't match the ward lines in the city. You have many blocks that are split between 2 or more wards, and we had to estimate those split blocks. So I can't tell you absolutely, other than the total, that those numbers are absolutely correct, but that's our best estimate of the existing wards. Now, if you'll look at Ward 5, you'll see the deviation from the average is only 0.8%. In Ward 6, it's 24.67. Therefore, the two combined is a deviation of 32.77%. And the general rule is a deviation of not more than 10% from the lowest to the highest deviation. So we were looking for a average population of 4,236. All right, I did 2 plans to try to accomplish that, and also at the same time trying to keep the majority of black and other population in Ward 4. Ward 4 has historically been what we call the black and minority district. And this goes back to a consent decree back in the 80s involving voting rights, which I believe is probably still in effect. Under Plan A, the highest deviation was Ward 1 in a minus 5.38, and in Ward 2 was a plus 3.45, which gave you 8.83%. These changes in the wards, we have the map up. There were a number of changes in Ward 1 out on College Hill Road. I had to take an area and put it in Ward 6. I had to take an area from Ward 5 out between Anderson Road and West Jackson Avenue and put it into 6. And to make up for those I took from 5, I had to go out on Thacker Loop, Garden subdivision.
Terrace,
Beg your pardon?
Garden Terrace.
Garden Terrace. Put it in 5, and then in Ward 3, I had to take part of 2 between University Avenue and Van Buren to add to 3, and then I had to take people between Jackson Avenue and University Avenue to go into 1 to make up for the ones I had taken out. So those were the changes that I made in Plan A, and you ended up with a total deviation of 8.83% as compared to 32.77. The minority percentage increased in Plan A from the existing 55.06 to 57.14. All right, then we go to Plan B. In Plan B, again, shuffling people around, I took a large area from 1 out between College Hill Road and Old Sardis Road area over to Bailey Branch that went into 6. I had to take an area in the University Hill subdivision and an area south of that. It's bordered on the northeast by Chucky Mullins. I had to move it from Ward 3 into 5. Ward 4, I had to take an area between Van Buren and Jackson again. It went into 4. And from Ward 4 to Ward 1, I had to take an area that's bounded on the east by the Highway 7 bypass, South 18th Street, University Avenue, and back up to Jackson Avenue. Under that plan, the deviation changed just slightly to 8.90%, and the minority district, Ward 4, increased to 59.63. Now, keeping in mind, again, the consent decree of years ago, you have to look at the voting age population, not just the number of persons, minorities. Under Plan A, the reason for that is minorities have a lower percentage of voting age people 18 and older, than the white. So the Plan A, instead of having under Plan A, you had 57.14%, but in voting age population, it drops to 54.08. Under Plan B, the voting age increases slightly up to 56.61. So in Oxford, it's extremely difficult to try to create a super majority black and minority district because the geographic location of where people live. It just, you have minority persons living pretty much throughout the community. And you can see from looking at Ward 4 on the map of Plan B, if we can bring that up, Ward 4 goes all the way out off of McElroy Drive and back into town on Martin Luther King. Then it goes down south of town, south of the Highway 6 bypass. Then it weaves through town goes down into South 18th Street in the Bernie Branch subdivision, which is predominantly minority, including the housing development down off of South 18th Street. Plus, it swings around and goes out to the area on the east side of Oxford. We used to call it Rivers Hill, I guess it's still called that, and an area between Highway 6 bypass and University Avenue. I think that's Wilson Road, perhaps? Been a long time. So, yes, you can see, and the shape of Ward 4 is pretty much what it was the last time this was done and the way it was shaped several years ago. But that's what it takes to try to put as many minority persons in one district. You get a very irregular shaped district, but it works. Of course, as Ashley knows, when it comes time to vote, you're not just based it on people, it's registered voters. And historically, in Oxford and everywhere else, the homeowner areas, owner-occupied housing, has considerably higher numbers of registered voters and people that actually vote, as opposed to rental properties. And in Oxford, with the university, there's a lot.
Right.
We have rental property everywhere. And you're well aware of that. So you have Ward 1, I am correct, Ward 1 usually votes considerably more than any other ward, I believe it is. So you have two options here, Plan A, and also the number of people affected by Plan A. I have shifted 1,751 persons under that plan, and under Plan B, I have shifted 1,643. So there's not a lot of difference, and there will have to be a number of people, their voter registration will have to be changed. Fortunately, the next election's not until 2025, I believe.
That's it.
So you've got some time. Whichever plan you choose, once you select A or B, I will then write the descriptions of those areas and provide that to the city attorney to put in an ordinance to go in the, to be adopted and put in the ordinance book.
All right.
Any
So
questions?
tonight is a public hearing. We will not be voting tonight. It's a public hearing. Does anyone from the board have a question of Ben Smith before we call for comments? All right. Is anybody here that would like to speak regarding this voting ward redistricting? All righty. Then will we do that at our next board meeting? Is that the...
Yeah, at some point, we need direction from you on which plan you choose, and then we can direct Ben to write the description for that plan, and I would hope that you can do that at the next board.
Okay, well, let's plan to do that at our next board meeting to vote between these two choices. And so that allows the public some time to, anyone who's watching the meeting can call to voice opinions as well, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben, we appreciate it. All right, Donna. Donna Zampella is here to request permission for 4 employees to attend the 2023 MDOT MPTA Rodeo driving competition on April 21st through the 23rd in Starkville at an estimated cost of $3,287.56.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you, Donna. Request permission to apply for the Firehouse Subs Grant with no match.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Shane, you're next too. The agreement, the SMAC,
Yes, ma'am. It's as you stated earlier, we sent some employees down to Pontotoc County to help, and we had the Pontotoc County Emergency Management Director sign the mutual aid agreement, and just need board approval to submit that.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. Chief McCutcheon, request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Major Cajun Crawfish Company to host a Ducks Unlimited Crawfish Bowl on April the 5th from 2 to 7.
Yes, ma'am. So they are requesting to block 11th Street Alley, just so they can bring their trailers in and they'll take everything into the library for the fundraiser.
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for the Oxford Pride Sarah Isom Center to host a parade on May 6th from 2 to 3 p.m.
Yes, ma'am. So this is basically the same permit we've done the last few years, but we do want to make an amendment to it
Okay.
to request from 10 to 2 to allow them to put a table up in front of the steps at City Hall.
Okay. Hang on.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Request approval for preliminary plat for case 2945 Oxford Commons Lots LLC for the Oaks phases 1, 2, 3, 9, 11, 12, and 18 for property located north of the intersection of FD Buddy East Parkway and Sisk Avenue, being further identified as PPIN 45020. Robert.
All right, the request is for a preliminary plat for several phases of Oaks at Commons. These phases of the subdivision are located in the PUD on the east side of the power cut on extension of FD Buddy East. The proposed subdivision is about 30 acres with 47 lots. And the proposed lots comply with the dimensional requirements of the underlying zoning, and the density is appropriate to that area of the PUD. In the staff report, engineering provided comments related to access, water and sewer, and stormwater. At the March Planning Commission meeting, the commission recommended approval of the request with the conditions that were in the staff report, and staff recommends approval with the 6 conditions that are last listed in the memo.
Move we approve with conditions.
I want to note that Mr. Dickerson provided an objection which is attached and will be attached to the minutes as well. All right, so the 6 conditions, would you just go through what those 6 conditions
Yes,
are, and then Jason's
Sure.
got the
it is.
motion in play, but I want the
Approval is for the plan is submitted. A draft set of covenants will be provided to the planning department prior to the issuance of permits. MSDOH and MDEQ approvals for water and sewer designs shall be submitted to the engineering department. Performance bond will be required for the connection and extension to FD Buddy East Parkway due to the final plat requested for adjacent phases in case 2947. Final approval of the construction drawings and stormwater management plan are required prior to the installation of any water, sewer, or storm drain infrastructure, and a traffic impact study at the intersection of FD Buddy East and Sisk will be required for this development if a connection to Lakewood Hill Drive is not made.
All right, thank you. So,
Could I ask,
Alderman,
what was the vote on the planning commission?
Unanimous.
Okay, thanks.
all right, so Mr. Bailey has a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed?
No.
All right. The next is request approval of a preliminary and final plat for case 2946 Oxford Commons Lots LLC for the Oaks phases 7, 8, 19, and 27 for property located north of the intersection of FD Buddy East Parkway and Sisk Avenue, further identified as PPIN 4502.
So this is 4 more phases of the Oaks. There is a slight change to the request between the Planning Commission and now, in that Phase 7 is now just for preliminary plat and not for final, but it will be final plat as well for 8, 19, and 27. All told, this is 21 acres with 32 lots, with some common area and conservation area. Previous preliminary plats for these phases were heard in February and March of '22, and revisions to the circulation plan for the Oaks now requires new preliminary plats for those phases. Pretty much the lots have been unchanged since then. The proposed lots comply with the dimensional requirements of the underlying zoning, and the density is appropriate to that area of the PUD. In the staff report, engineering provided comments related to access, water and sewer, and stormwater. Since the hearing of the Planning Commission, there's additional notations that have been added to the final plats for 19, 27, and 8, and the preliminary for 7 regarding a temporary detention bond. There's some additional technical notations that are going to be required before the prints for those phases can be signed, and any approvals granted should be contingent upon the completion of those corrections, which we have a comment for, or a condition for in the memo. At the March Planning Commission meeting, the commission unanimously recommended approval of the request for preliminary and final for those phases. After the Planning Commission meeting, staff has had ongoing discussions with the applicant to ensure that all conditions can be met. As a result of those discussions, the applicant is now only seeking preliminary plat approval for Phase 7. When the applicant seeks final plat approval for Phase 7, that request will be heard as a separate case. We're not going to have Part 2 of 2646. So staff recommends approval of these phases with the 9 conditions. Really 6 conditions, as 7, 8, and 9 have already been met. Thus.
Robert,
Yes.
If you look in what was attached, I just want to make it clear. If you look in what was attached to the case, there's a mapping that's designated as 2.0. It's a conceptual drawing. That drawing still has Lakewood Hill Drive. I just want to make sure that it's not being voted on. It has Lakewood Hill Drive continuing on and connecting. That's a conceptual drawing, not something that we're voting on today.
Conceptual drawing.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making that clear.
I move we approve with the contingencies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Nay.
Thank you very much, Robert. Mr. Levy? Request permission to apply for Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Technology and Equipment Grant in the amount of $500,000 with no required match.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mark. All right, Rihanna, consider a lease agreement with the Mississippi Transportation Commission for the use of MDOT right-of-way for the Pumpkin Water Project.
Yes, thank you. We've been working with MDOT for some time now to secure a lease to allow us a location on their right-of-way to place a booster pump station that we need for Pumpkin Water for our project. And so they have provided us the attached lease. Pope has reviewed it and believes it's approvable as written, and so I'm requesting that the board consider entering into this lease. The terms are that it's $1,500 per year for a 5-year lease, and it will be renewed annually upon receipt of payment. So we are really pleased that we were able to get this lease and look forward to getting this moving so we can continue our progress on our Pumpkin Water Project.
Absolutely.
What happens after 5 years?
We would either renegotiate the lease, or there is a possibility that if MDOT were to choose to sell the property, that we would be provided the option to purchase the property.
But it isn't a true option. It's a good question. It talks about an option in there, but it's not a true option. It just says they may give us that in 5 years.
Okay, all right.
Our answer is right on.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, Bart, discuss potential amendment to the Colonnade Crossing TIF agreement.
All right, first let me say that you're not voting on a TIF amendment tonight. We'd have to bring it forward. You'd have to have a public hearing, just like be completely back through the entire TIF process. However, we were approached a couple of weeks ago by the developer of Colonnade Crossing wanting the option to amend or add to the TIF agreement enough value to construct a water line along County Road 178. You've got a map in front of you that depicts what that is. The line does 2 things. They have, through their engineering study, shown that they have 2 other options that will provide them adequate water capacity for their development. But this option gives them the adequate, this is actually the most expensive option, obviously. It gives them the capacity they need, and it could potentially help us out in some future needs we would have north of town and working along County Road 178. The estimated cost of the improvement is about $550,000. I do believe it's something that the city will have to do at some point in the future. If you choose to do it, you can just remember that. It would increase their overall TIF reimbursement from $6 million to $6.6 million if you chose to do that. And you'll see in the letter from the consultant for the developer that does the TIFs, that the net to the developer would increase to 5.8 million, up from, I think, about 5.3 million is where they were from their original request and what you approved. So what's before you is, do you want to consider it? Do you want us to move forward with it? And do you have any questions for me? I'll try to answer anything you have.
I think we should consider it. And I mean, the reason I say that is being able to talk with Bart about it this past week. You know, one of the things that he brought up was if we waited and we do this in 2 to 3 or 4 years, the cost of construction is going to be increased so much that we wouldn't be looking at a $600,000. We'd be looking at maybe double that. So for that reason, that's my reason to consider it.
It will definitely, the cost today will definitely be cheaper than the cost in the future.
I agree 100%. I know I
be.
talked to you about it also, and I think we should move forward with it, but I'll let anybody else speak.
Same application as the previous TIF agreement, it applies simply to the work done?
Yes, sir, and it's a reimbursement, and it's a reimbursement based on the TIF increment the tax increment once it's in place. So there's some substantial risk to the developer that if he, and I think on this particular TIF, we had a 10-year, there's a 10-year time period that those TIFs, that increment has to be in place before we could issue those bonds. So if anything after that 10 years, then he would be out.
This one could be at an 8-year.
Yeah, and we're setting aside that increment now.
This one was 10.
We're already setting that money aside.
Yeah, we were 8 on a couple of them, but this one was actually 10.
All right.
I'm good with moving forward, yes.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, well, we are not voting tonight. It was just a discussion. So it sounds like there is a general consensus to move forward with this. And so we'll let the developer and Bart come back with
We'll come back
a
with
new agreement.
With the TIF amendment. It'll have your development reimbursement agreement. It'll be the same process, just like as a new TIF. We'll just be amending the value.
All right.
You are, no, forget. He can tell them what a TIF is.
I'll let you. All right. With that, I would ask the board to consider an executive session.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The board will now consider an